Today we are talking about a very controversial topic, easy to keep Caridina shrimp. So crystal red shrimp are one of the most popular shrimp in the hobby. They're extremely beautiful. They have red and white coloration. It's very bold. These are one of the easiest to keep shrimp, even more so than cherry shrimp. There is a little caveat to that, which we'll get to in today's video, but sit back, enjoy the video. We're talking about easy to keep Caridina shrimp. What is going on, shrimp gears? This is Rob with flipaquatics.com, and today we're talking about 3 easy to keep Caridina shrimp. Now I know a lot of people are gonna say in the comment section, oh, Caridina shrimp are not easy to keep, and truthfully, they are way easier than Neo-Caridina shrimp. And we'll get into this. First, we're gonna start the video by talking about the 3 types that I highly recommend for you all just get into Caridina shrimp. And then we're gonna talk about how you keep these shrimp and make them easy to keep. And that is gonna be today's video. Let's get right into it. So to start, these are crystal reds. Like I said, they have just a very deep red color, a really good white color. The contrast is beautiful. There is a lot of grading that goes into these guys. Like the more white they have, people consider that a higher grade. Some people really like the ones that have tons of red. And so if you plan on getting these and breeding these, there is a lot of variations you can get, a lot of different qualities. I always go by high grade is the deepness of the color and how good the color is. So like, if they have really good white color, really good red color, that's what I consider a high grade, but a lot of people grade them by pattern too. And so these guys have been in the hobby for a long time. They're the OG Caridina shrimp, super pretty, and these are one of the easiest shrimp to keep. And why I say that is because they've been in the hobby for so long. They're very stable. There's very few things that go wrong with these guys as long as you have the proper setup. So we'll go over the whole setup later on in today's video, but these guys, honestly, we have very few, if any, issues ever with these guys. So like if I imported, 1,000 of these, I can expect to have 1,000 by the end of it, or at least 995 when it comes time to sell them. So they just don't die. They're very easy to keep, but let's check out the second most easiest Caridina shrimp. So next up, we have these guys. These are Tangerine Tigers. Now, these guys are the most popular tiger shrimp on the breeder side of things. And the reason these are so popular is because they are such a hardy tiger shrimp that it makes them ideal for mixing with Caridina shrimp, other types of Caridina shrimp. So like the crystals or the Taiwan bees to get different pintos. And, that's how you create like, different variations of pinto shrimps, like the Galaxy, the backline, so on and so forth. This is one of the best shrimp to mix them with because it's so hardy. And these guys have a very deep orange color, so they stand out on black substrate. Honestly, one of my favorites. So if you guys are looking for something other than white and red, this is definitely gonna be the one that you're gonna go after. I've even kept these in Neo-Caridina parameters. They don't breed, they do survive, so they wouldn't be living their best life. But if you want these to breed, definitely follow our care guide, which we're gonna get to here in a little bit, at least our tank setup guide. These guys do really, really well. And again, they just have that deep orange color. They got the black spots on them, some striping, just a very pretty shrimp that is extremely hardy. So the last one is my personal favorite. These guys have so much variation when you're breeding them, which makes them a lot of fun. And so I just talked about the Tangerine Tiger and how a lot of breeders use them to mix with crystal shrimp or Taiwan bees and create new lines and things like that. So these guys are a red fancy tiger, and they are a mix of like, say, a Tangerine Tiger and a crystal red. And then you breed them to get these really cool colorations. And the reason I like them is because the patterns are so like different. So whereas crystal reds have a very uniform pattern, they're always gonna be the same, they're always gonna look very similar. These guys, every generation can be completely different. And so there's a lot of skill that comes down to breeding them and getting a good pattern, so a lot of genetic work. So these ones are just a ton of fun. I personally like the ones that have 50-50 red to white. And so, so these guys are just a lot of fun. Now, the reason these are so hardy, and I consider them an easy to keep shrimp, is because the genetic line. So if you breed a crystal shrimp that's pretty hardy with a Tangerine Tiger that's pretty hardy, now you have such a diverse pool of genetics, which creates a very, very hardy shrimp. And these guys get much bigger and just a really fun one to breed. So those are the three that I would recommend. Now there is a black fancy tiger that is pretty much the same as this that you could also keep, and that goes the same for like crystal reds. There's also crystal blacks and golden bees, which are all extremely hardy. So I just wanted to focus on the popular versions that are easy to keep. So let's get into basically what you need to do to make all these shrimp easy to keep. Before we move on to the tank setup and what you need to do to make these shrimp easy to keep, I wanted to ask you guys, which Caridina shrimp is your favorite? I know I have a favorite. It's not one we talked about. It's actually these guys right here. I love blue bolts. Blue bolts are my absolute favorite. If I had to keep one shrimp, I'd probably keep those or royal blue tigers, but I'm gonna go with the blue bolts for now. They're just, I love blue, and there's just very deep, dark coloration there. So if you've never seen a blue bolt, check them out, look them up, flipaquatics.com, just saying. But let me know in the comment section which Caridina shrimp is your favorite. I know, before we get into this, the first thing we have to address is RO water. Now, you look at this, it looks super intimidating, and I get it. It is kind of intimidating. Once you get it going, it's super easy. The first step in making these shrimp easy to keep, or at least Caridina shrimp easy to keep, is you either need to make your own RO water, which this is an RO-DI unit. So reverse osmosis deionization is what it stands for. And you can either have an RO unit, an RO-DI unit. You can buy the water. If you guys are just getting into this, I don't recommend going and buying this huge setup because it is expensive and it requires some technical skill to set it up. We could do a whole video on that. But what I would recommend is go to your local grocery store and get distilled water. You don't want it naturally flavored or anything like that. You just want straight distilled water. Usually it's $1 to $2 for a gallon. And if you're just setting up a 10-gallon tank, you got $10, $20 invested in water. And Caridina shrimp do not need big water changes. So this would be step one, is either having an RO unit or having the access to go get distilled water or RO-DI water. And so as soon as you have that, you're set up for success. So step two, and this is kind of where we do step two, is you need a shrimp remineralizer. So for Caridina shrimp, you're gonna wanna use GH only. So basically what we're doing is we're starting off with RO water or distilled water, which you're gonna need a TDS pen. TDS Easy, we get this on Amazon. They're like $20 a piece. So get you one of these. Your distilled water or your RO water should have a TDS of 10 or less. Now, once you have your distilled water, you're gonna need something like this. This is Shrimple GH Plus, this is what we use. This is our product. So we mix it into our RO water and we remineralize it to 150 TDS. For everything that we talked about today, 150 TDS is what we use. We don't measure the GH, we don't like test the water. We literally remineralize it to 150 TDS and then you are good to go. So if you have this and you have distilled water, remineralize it. As soon as this says 150 TDS, it is good water to use. One big tip is never remineralize in the tank. Always remineralize in a 5-gallon bucket, in a 275-gallon tote, whatever you wanna do, you gotta remineralize outside of the tank before you start doing water changes with that. But 150 TDS and you're ready. So the next thing you're gonna need is what's in this box. This is called Brightwell Rio Oscuro XF. So crazy name. Basically, we sell it as just Brightwell shrimp soil. And so this stuff is an active substrate, which means that it's gonna actively change your water parameters. So you have the right water, you have the distilled water or RO water remineralized with GH to a TDS of 150. Now again, that's only if you're using Brightwell, or not Brightwell, that's only if you're using the Shrimply GH. So know that every other remineralizer might be a little bit different. The GH that we aim for is between 4 to 7, anywhere in there for the Caridina shrimp is gonna be good. At least the ones we talked about today. Taiwan bees are a little different. But anyway, you need this substrate because this is what's gonna hold your pH low. The big thing is not having KH in your water, because what this substrate does, it absorbs KH, which then allows it to lower the pH. So you want a pH of under 7. Usually this buffers it to like 5.5 to 6.5, somewhere in there. Every batch is a little different, but this is what we use in every single one of our tanks. So as far as supplies, those are the big things you need. Now from there, it's preference, but we'll show you what we personally do, and then you can kind of build your perfect setup from there. Why people think Caridina shrimp are hard are literally the things that I just talked about. One, very few people are willing to go get distilled water or make RO water. They don't want to remineralize. They don't want to have a TDS pen and remineralize the water with GH+, and they don't want to buy expensive substrate. So for those 3 reasons is why most people are like, hey, Caridina shrimp are hard. But if you're willing to do those 3 things I just showed you and have a setup like this, Caridina shrimp are way easier than any other type of shrimp. The reason being is they don't have parasites. Rarely do you ever see diseases. You don't really get bacterial infections because the pH is low, which inhibits a lot of bacteria from growing. So that's why these are so easy, but that's also why people think they're so hard. So let's say that you've done all those things that I just told you. This is what a perfect setup looks like. So we love using matten filters, which is just a piece of sponge that is attached to 3 panels of glass, the bottom and the 2 sides, and goes up top. And then it has a PVC lift tube, we call it, which basically is just an L shape. And then we put air in the back and it forces water from one side of the matten filter to the other side. And that's the filtration. You can see in this tank, shrimp are all over the matten filter. They're grazing on it. That's what you need in this setup. And then I personally just like moss. Moss is really good for providing a lot of hiding places. It's good for neutralizing NO3s, and it just looks good. It provides a natural place for the shrimp to go and graze, shrimp to hide after they're molting, baby shrimp to eat biofilm and microorganisms. And this is just the perfect setup. So we always do like an inch of substrate, maybe a little bit less. I always do enough just to cover the bottom trim. And then I always have the live plants in there. And this literally takes 0 maintenance. We do 1 water change a month, and we just do a flow through system. So maybe it gets like a 10% water change per month. Nothing crazy. Feed them 5 days a week. We don't feed them on the weekends. And these guys just absolutely thrive. We don't really keep them long enough for them to start breeding, but if we do have ones in here, which we do have a couple tanks that have been here a little bit longer for whatever reason, and there's always buried females, there's always babies. And so Caridina shrimp, extremely easy to keep, especially if you go with crystal reds, tangerine tigers, or fancy tigers. So again, red fancy tigers my preference, but black fancy tigers look really good too. Before we wrap up the video, I want to give you guys detailed water parameters. So if you didn't want to use Shrimple GH+, you know what you could use. So there's a lot of great products out there. We used to use Salty Shrimp GH+. I think it's called B Shrimp Mineral. And we do still sell that on our website, so that's a really good one. But here are the things that you wanna really go for. So first of all, temperature. That's always the big one. You don't need a heater in this tank unless the temperature is literally gonna be in the freezing. So we go for 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And then as far as the parameters go, a KH, which is carbonate hardness of 0, a GH of say 4 to 8 realistically is gonna be okay. We always try to stay like 5, 6, or 7 is like our ideal, which obviously 6 would be the best one. And then pH, anything below 7. Once you get below 5, you can start having issues. So it's never good to go below 5. So always try to keep it above 5. Honestly, 5.5 or higher is better, but still being low 7. So you need acidic water for these guys. So that's it for water parameters. So if you guys wanted to set up one of these tanks, it's very easy to do. Highly recommend it. Give it a try if you've never tried Caridina shrimp. I promise you're not gonna regret it. If you guys aren't subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button. We want you to be a part of our journey here at Flipaquatics. We have a lot of stuff going on. We have a huge move going on right now, depending on when you're watching this video. But there is so much content to consume. We're always talking about shrimp, fish, snails, plants, all the good stuff, all freshwater aquarium related. So hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss a video drop. On that note, I got some lunch to eat and I got some husbandry to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And honestly, if you guys have never tried Caridina shrimp, I'm telling you, you need to try them. They're super, super easy, and there's so many different colors and patterns that you can get. So let me know down below what you guys thought of the video. Also, don't forget to let me know, what is your favorite Caridina shrimp? But on that note, you guys make it a great week. As always, God bless. We'll catch you on the flip side. Let's restart. No, I don't want to keep it, or what? Em's over here yawning, putting me to sleep. All right, Fluval, Brightwell, or Fluval, there it goes. Did I miss anything? I can't think of anything. I must not be making good content if she got the yawns going.